I request Mr. G.D. Sharma, Principal Beeline HR Advisory, to introduce our valuable guest, Mr. Ravindran Voltec, Manufacturing Company Limited, about his 40 years industrial experience and also his Lifetime Achievement Award this year.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and privilege to speak about a colleague of mine. We started our careers together in the same company. That's how the coincidence is today. But a man who has really achieved so much in his lifetime, taking a company which was a joint venture between SPIC, where we started our careers, and Jurong Engineering from Singapore. So this joint venture was called SPIC Gel Engineering. And it was a force to reckon with in due course of time. It was one of the most reputed construction and engineering turnkey companies in the field of power, oil and gas, and so on. And the man behind that company, for having made it such a reputable company in that sector, in that domain, is the person whom I am talking about, and that is Mr. P. Ravindran. Mr. Please sit down. Please. So, Mr. Ravindran is a BE and an MSc in engineering, and like all of us, he started his career as an assistant project engineer in SPIC in the year 1973. I joined in 79. But he has been slowly and steadily, he progressed in his career. He became chief manager projects and was transferred from the Tuticorin works to Chennai to another division of SPIC, which was then called SPIC SMO, as it was called, SPIC Maintenance Organization. Again, a division which was entrusted with the responsibility to do turnkey projects, design engineering in the field of oil and gas, power, fertilizers and chemicals and so on. So he moved to SPIC SMO in 1986, and subsequently he was on a deputation to this new venture, as I was mentioning in the beginning, which is SPIC Gel Engineering, a joint venture between SPIC and Jurong Engineering Limited. And I think that deputation of Mr. Ravindran as a chief manager projects from SPIC to SPIC Gel, I think was a game changer for him, a turning point in his life. And I think there has been no looking back for Mr. Ravindran. He steered the company SPIC Gel Engineering from 1995, when he became the managing director of this company, and he retired in the year 2006, 7 years ago. And during this stint, as I was mentioning earlier, SPIC Gel Engineering achieved great heights in its domain, came to be known as a company of merit, and that was sheerly, completely attributable to the leadership demonstrated by Mr. Ravindran. So HR Caucus 2013 is the third in the series, as Mr. Dinesh was mentioning, and we have kept this skill building and skill gap as a national agenda in front of us, and that's the standard theme for our programs in the past and for the years to come by as well. So during this 2013 HR Caucus, we would like to start the proceedings by announcing that we wish to confer the Lifetime Achievement Award to Mr. P. Ravindran. And I would request, thank you. It's really a well-deserved applause for Mr. Ravindran, and I would request Mr. Umapati, Chairman of Voltec Engineering, to hand over the award to him and also to honor him and recognize him. Mr. Umapati.
I also request Mr. Umapati to felicitate Mr. Sridhar, MD TMI Network. and felicitate Mr. G.D. Sharma, Principal Beeline HR Advisory. So now to start upon, I request the honorable panel speakers to come onto the stage. Dr. Lalita Balakrishnan, Director MBA Program and Vice Principal MOP Vaishnav College for Women's, Chennai. To start with her education, she has done her MCom, MPhil, MBA and PhD, and she's been author for 2 books of human resource development and organization development. Thank you, ma'am. I request Mr. Ravi Mishra, Vice President HR, Birla Carbon. To talk about him, he has been associated in practicing human resource management in diversified organizations like Nicholas, Madhya Group, Aditya Birla, Ultratech Cement, and many other institutions. And now I call upon Mr. Dr. K. Tirunanam, Founder and CEO at Ascendus Technology. Thank you, sir. Welcome. He has more than 2 decades of experience, mostly in senior and challenging positions in IT services, IT consulting, and BPOs, and ERP system in a long list of IT MNCs. Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Mr. Tony Paul J. Sonakoya Steering Systems Limited. He's qualified in BCom and MA in Sacred Heart College. Please, sir, I request Mr. Tony, sir, to come onto the stage. And now, to talk about Mr. G.D. Sharma, sir, Principal Beeline HR Advisory, Session Chairman. He has over 33 years experience spanning over several industry verticals. And we have lots to talk about him, so you should definitely look into the profile. Now I hand over the dais to Mr. GDS.
Without wasting any further formalities and time of yours as well as ours, I am going to have a true panel discussion. They are not going to come and make their presentations here. I have already briefed them, so I don't think they are disappointed. And I'm sure you will not be very disappointed, because what they want to present on their PPTs will be spoken here in the form of a live panel discussion. And I think that's the only way to enliven the proceedings here just before lunch. I know it's very, very tough, very, very demanding on you, but I can assure you we are going to have a firecracker of an event now, and with the kind of speakers that we have. So straight away I start, okay? So Dr. Lalita, why don't you tell us, you head the MBA department and also the vice principal of one of the most notable and the most, let's say, reputed city colleges, MOP Vaishnav. So why don't you tell us how you are forging partnerships with industry and trying to play a role in bridging this skill gap, both for your own requirements as well as for industry requirements. Over to you. Yeah.
Thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. At MOP, we have had the experience that we are not able to give off-the-shelf products to the industry. So what did we do in this regard? First, we have this embedded learning system. We are not looking for the students to learn something after their graduation or after what is covered in the curriculum. Okay. Even the mode of delivery of the curriculum is such that they are able to incorporate the soft skills inside the curriculum itself. So we are basically looking at soft skills and technical skills. The soft skills is imparted while the curriculum is being delivered. It is not the teacher talking and the student listening. It is a learner-centric methodology that we use, where the student is as involved as the teacher when the lessons take place. And even our modes of delivery are like that. We have something called the practice school, where I had the opportunity to listen to the speakers in the previous session, where they said the hands-on experience was missing. Here we send 1 week. Every student goes to industry depending on the choice of faculty. For example, if it is nutrition and dietetics, they go and they work in the bakery or they work in the cafeteria, and that is their learning for the entire week. They don't sit in any of the classes. So it is not just learning happening inside the classroom, it is learning outside the classroom also.
Just to add a question, how often is that internship in the industry? Does it happen every week?
No,
or is it at the end of
internship
the
is
course?
different. Everybody goes for a summer internship, 1 month course.
Okay.
This is what is a practice school module, 1 week per semester, because supposing there are 50 in a
Yeah,
batch.
yeah.
So 1 week per semester, they get
1 week
doing only this. They miss the classes, they catch up on the lessons from, because everyone goes through this cycle once. So, for example, our marketing management students are our PR coordinators. They take the visitor slips, they put them on to the right people in the organization, not because we do not have the admin staff to do that, but because they should get the experience here itself.
Right. Okay, we'll just take a break. We'll go over to Tony Paul. Tony Paul heads HR for Sonokyo Shearing.
Yeah.
Now, Tony, tell us what kind of industry partnerships have you forged with institutions? It could be, like she said, an institution like hers, or it could be an engineering college, or it could be the IITs, or it could be an MBA school and
Yeah,
so on. So how
exactly.
have you done it? Could
Yeah.
you like to tell us about it?
Right now I'm sitting with Sonokyo Chennai plant,
Right.
but we have an instruction from corporate peoples.
Okay.
They are giving the instruction to for us to get the candidates from IIT or SRM universities like that.
Okay.
That is the instruction from corporate. We have to deliver to the universities to select the candidate.
No.
But it is my personal opinion.
Okay.
As a head HR to Sona Chennai, I am willing to take the candidates. How I expect my employee as a student. Like that, I am expecting. There is a gap between the employer. As an employer part, I am sitting as an employer. But as a student, the college should deliver the students to me. In that case, I feel some gaps. What is that gap means? The universities or colleges who brings the students to the institutions, industry. How I expect means the coming inside the employee,
Okay.
the students, is the coming employee. of the employee.
Quality of the
The
students.
quality of the students should be
Okay.
academic average is enough for me for every industries.
Right.
Appadi is academic is fundamentally is 50%.
Okay, okay.
Average. But the attitudes, what the innovative thinkings,
How
what I should be there after 5 years,
Okay.
what I am right now, like that I want the candidate to be exposed in that interview itself.
Oh, wonderful.
Then only I can assume that in 5 years, how Sona can improve because of him.
Because of thanks, Tony. Okay, now we'll move on to Ravi. Ravi Mishra, of course, heads HR for Birla Carbon, outside of, on the outskirts of Chennai. But more importantly, I was telling Ravi before we started that he's part of the very large AV Birla group, and they have, I don't know, maybe by last count, some 126 SBUs and things like that. So AV Birla group has huge industry tie-ups.
Yeah.
So would you like to tell us a little about that? How do you benefit from these institution tie-ups?
We have institution tie-up with certain levels. For example, Tier 1 institutes, Tier 2, Tier 3. We select the students from the campuses. We have certain set of competencies, behavioral competencies and functional competencies. We go to the campuses and we select based on those competencies. Then we offer them about 1.5 years stretch training program at various different businesses. During the hiring, we don't commit that we are going to place in the marketing or finance or in different business segment like cement or telecom or banking financial institution. During these 1.5 years, we used to send in a different businesses. So students used to perform there, take their projects depending upon the business, and thereafter we have final interaction with the students who have opted for our businesses. Then we also talk to the managers. Where do they fit? Maybe the guy has done in the marketing, but during the project we have given him projects in the HR, marketing and operations. At that stage we are finding that that guy has more better competence in the behavioral if we place him in HR. So after interaction with the students, we used to place them in right fit, because many times the students has got a certain discipline or domain based upon the his opportunity in the college. He is getting the marketing seat or finance seat or that. So to make a right fit, we used to decide after 1.5 years where he is to be placed. This is one part that when we take the fresh. For the employees who are already working in the business, we have a career stages like manage self, manage others, manage managers. So for different career stage, Aditya Birla Group has a different set of competencies and level. So all the employees are rated based on the performance and potential. So based on the performance potential, we do this talent segmentation at the unit level. And after the segmentation at the unit level, the guys are referred to the DAC Development and Assessment Center to third party like DDI, ESHL, ECS, everything. So after doing the assessment for external bodies, we do have a consensus discussion between employee, manager and HR. So maybe in certain competencies, there is a big difference between what employee is feeling, what assessment center has recommended. Then after the consensus discussion, employee and manager jointly agrees that this is the potential he has, and we built on those potentials, capitalize on those potentials, and those areas who has come a little low, we work on those potential to bring over to the next career stage.
Yeah. No, I mean, Ravi, of course, you have been now, you have taken us through the internal talent management process and including recruitment from campuses and so on. As you will realize, the focus here in this discussion is to see how industry and institution have collaborated in the form of, for example, today the government of India is insisting, or rather mandated, that industries now should adopt ITIs and other such centers of excellence and create centers of excellence by adopting these ITIs in your own geographical areas and provide both academic as well as financial and professional inputs, thus raising the overall levels and capability levels of these institutes and so on. So I'm sure AB Birla Group must have adopted certain ITIs or maybe helping certain other institutions to improve their curriculum to make it industry relevant and so on. So can you tell us a little more on a focused way on that actually? Yeah.
On that front, we have adopted many ITIs and
That's
diploma
what we
holder
wanted to talk
institutes.
about. Yeah, yeah.
We are doing it 3 ways. One is that we are making whole infrastructure, providing the faculty from our industry to train those students.
Right.
And in certain cases, we are also assuring the employment if they are performing to a certain level. Otherwise, we are able to make them employability elsewhere as well.
Okay.
So certain institutions we are owning, and certain institutions we are helping as a free, faculty from our industry, and we are providing technology, skills. This is how we are doing in both the way. We are owning institution and we are providing faculty and infrastructure support. To maintain that.
Okay, good. Thank you. Dr. Thiru, what would you have to say on industry institution collaboration for bridging skill gap? Your experiences, please.
Probably, first of all, by thanks to the Voltech, and also it's great to be with GD Sharma. I always looked at him as a mentor. We from the recruitment space, we know about him a lot. Coming back to this topic, the institution has got a onerous responsibility to prepare the students to become an employee. This is the first and foremost necessity and the single focused objective of creating the institution in the country.
Okay.
This is the first focus. And second, the institution, they should invite the industries, or industries are participating in spite of making it, industry means it's a commercial organization, let us be very clear.
Absolutely.
Education is a service, now it has become more of commercialized, but still it is a service. But here industry means it's purely commercial part. Even from the commercial part, before even government mandating that CSR and all this stuff, all the industry, they are coming towards the institution because they also know that for the future CEOs, we have to identify from the institution so that well in advance they go to the institution, they partner with them in identifying the right resource.
Wonderful.
In today, if at all, from my personal point of view, if I am saying, this young workforce is going to be a very, very big threat for us, which is an advantage, but at the same time, if it is not rightly handled, it's a double-edged sword. Because today, from the organized institution itself, 20 lakhs of students are not having job today every year. Think of 5 years, that means one group. It's going to be a huge number. The people, what will happen in the sense, when I'm getting a job, I'm coming out of the engineering institution, or today we are talking only about engineering and everything, but about the arts and science and everything. People are coming out, they wanted a job, they wanted a pulsar, they wanted a smart mobile or a tab or everything. What about the people who is not having job? Obviously, the ego of that person will make them to go into the other side of it. That's the problem, where the problem of cheating, all this taking, chain snatching, each and everything is coming up. And we are talking about the future, but conveniently we are forgetting about the past, which is a dangerous. Today, every industry should come forward to the institution. Institution should accommodate. Every college, wherever I visited, almost 45% of the college in Tamil Nadu I have visited. I went as a guest or one or another form. Everywhere I had seen a fantastic, sophisticated IT lab, where most of the companies are not having. But it's all completely dusted cleanly and kept clearly. But is that 100% is it utilized? To create some kind of revenue which can work as a stipend for their own students. I think institutions should come forward. Institutions also should spend something to the industry people. For an example, the companies, I am really salute this Aditya Birla, TCS, TVS, everyone. All the tier 1, tier 2 company, they can sponsor a lot towards the society. What about the tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 companies who's the real entrepreneurs who can create another entrepreneur? India is the learned where the entrepreneurs, we sow the seed and then it comes up automatically. Nobody is nurturing. The entrepreneurship, fostering entrepreneurship is in India.
Wonderful.
This is where it happens. I think we have to create lot of intellectual properties. We have to create lot of research. How many organizations or institutions are registering the IPs? More the IPs are getting registered by the institutions, more the entrepreneurs will have. More the entrepreneurs we are having, the country will nurture like anything. Tomorrow, the future is ours. But today, we look at it, it's a dark shaded. It's seriously dark shaded. More the young workforce, one way it is an advantage, the other way, again, I would like to say that, which is a threat. Which is a threat. I think that's where we need to concentrate a lot.
Wonderful.
Of
Thanks,
sharpening
Dr.
skills.
Thiru. I think he has given us, at least the way I look at it, he has brought us to the next area of focus, which is what I would like to start with, Dr. Lalita Balakrishnan. In terms of entrepreneurship development, I mean, that is again an area where institutions like, MBA colleges, engineering colleges are all today starting departments of entrepreneurship, or they call it entrepreneurship development cell. And they bring a lot of SMEs and MSMEs into this partnership and create, awareness for entrepreneurship and so on and so forth. So is MOP doing something on those lines?
Yeah, we have an entrepreneur development cell from 1998 onwards, and we have an incubation center.
Incubation center.
Where, say, we identify, we don't put everyone through that, some of them, especially we have a lot of students from the business community in our college.
Right.
So we put them through this incubation training, and after a month-long training, then they are given, lectures as well as hands-on training is given to them by experts in the field. Anything from, in fact, we have a cosmetology lab in our college. We have fashion designing, jewelry designing, whatever they choose to excel in. And it's not only for the, the elite part of the community or society. In fact, we have students who are flower vendors, children and all. And so we have this boutique making. And probably many of you would have read in Deccan Chronicle how this flower seller's daughter, who her mother used to make probably 100 to 200 rupees per day. She makes this 100 to 200 rupees per bouquet because she knows how to present the same flowers.
Correct.
Her mother, well, she is in college, she has, they are twin sisters doing BSc Maths in our college. Their parents are flower vendors. By the time they bring the, I think when you go to Coimbatore or something, by 10 o'clock all the flowers get sold, they come home. She goes home at 1 o'clock. and while her mother strings the flowers, she makes the bouquet. And now she has her own bouquet shop, and probably if she had known about this conference, she would have supplied the bouquets for this
Oh,
conference
wonderful.
also.
So Dinesh, where are you? Please take note. Yeah. Organizers for the next.
Similarly, we have a
conference.
bakery and other things. See, it is not that everyone can be a gold medalist. We have to understand that a unique talent lies in each child.
Absolutely.
And the circumstances they are exposed to. We never make the child feel or the student feel that she cannot excel, she cannot be a topper, and therefore she cannot get into a good placement. So whatever they are good at, we allow them to experiment with that, and we have this a separate dean for training and development where she focuses only on the other aspects other than learning. These classes are held on Saturdays and Sundays because of the space constraint. We are right in the heart of the city in Nungambakam, and we cannot expand beyond that. So on Saturdays and Sundays we have this entrepreneurship development activities going on, whatever they want to learn, whether it is yoga or something, and they can practice on that. And we have scripted so many success stories based only on this. Whatever they have learned outside the classroom, depending on that also they have been able to do. Definitely entrepreneurship is where we should look at, because you give the student the confidence that he or she can excel, that will do wonders. The skill is already inside them. Why do you want to make them unlearn the skill in which they are good at and go on to something where you want them to excel in? Always people spoke of passion. When you want to be something, you can only excel at that. You cannot do something for the sake of what the society expects you to be. You'll definitely, probably Sachin Tendulkar would have been a disaster if he had gone into any other profession except a cricketer. I'm not even sure if he finished his 10th or 12th. He may get many honorary doctorates, but the skill in a person, you have to identify that skill and allow them to excel in that.
Thank you, Dr. Lalita. Going back to Sona Coyote Steering, now they are into automobile and automobile ancillaries. Now, Tony, can you tell us if, as an industry or as a group of industries in the automobile and automobile ancillary sector, have you tried to, how have you tried to take the help of ITIs and other polytechnics and then brought them back to your industry, or trained them and gave it back to them in terms of some internship, projects, assignments? This is the only way in which industries like you can also directly support. So what has been your experience?
We had provided
Yeah.
a lot of colleges and institutions approached us for projects, internships, everything.
Okay.
I allowed them to make their projects. But my request to them, keep the timing, get the attitudes.
Right.
Get the best from my company.
Right.
Identify the worst, keep in touch with me. I can rectify myself to improve my company.
Okay.
Like that I only told.
I see.
But as you said before that, today morning you had government made one mandatory to take the CSR institution, CSR ITIs.
Right.
Like that. We already proposed, our Sona group already proposed to take up one ITI
I see.
in Kanchipuram district.
Oh, so
Right now we are on the way to process it.
Oh, wonderful.
We're glad to
So
inform
you are
you.
about to
Yeah.
adopt an ITI in the Kanchipuram
Yeah,
district. And,
exactly.
provide support for it. etc.
And also we want to create one management excellent training center in Chennai. It will act like, I think so TVS is having it.
Yeah,
Paddy
TVS
side.
has got a
Yeah.
center of
Like that we want to get one more training center in Kanchipuram district.
Wonderful.
At our own
Okay.
place. And apart from that, the institutes are those who give the students as implant training or internships. I request the students, not the institutes, institute representatives. That means not a placement officer or like her as a mentors.
HRDs, yeah.
Only I request the students, make the view, right now what is I am, after 5 years, what
I would
should
like
I?
to be. I see. Some kind of a vision
Yeah.
for the individual.
As Dr. Abdul Kalam said, dream bigger,
Think big.
கனவு காண்போம், கனவு காணுங்கள், அது நல்லா பெரியவங்க காணிட்டு போனது. நான் 5 வருஷம் கழிச்சு ஐ வாண்ட் டு பி a CEO.
Right.
At least at the time I can able to as a president.
Right. Good, very good. Okay, now coming down to, thanks Tony, coming down to Ravi, you know, there was a question, I wanted Tony also to respond. There was a question about, you know, why is industry not really bothering about faculty quality and faculty training, and can you not do something about it? It has not been listed out, it has not been identified and so on. So, do you encourage, as a AV Birla Corporation, I mean as a corporate, do you have a stated policy that your managers can go as visiting faculty, lend their intellectual property to these institutions and thereby increase the quality of the inputs coming into the institution? Do you have some kind of a policy or something?
Yeah, we have very much rather. We have very much that our managers are given rather preferred to go for institution for sharing their knowledge. Not only that, many projects we used to give to the institution as a collaborative project, and we used to give the stipend to the university or institute.
Okay.
That these are the certain problems. If you can engage your young bloods into the mentoring of one professor,
Right.
So they can work on the project. It's based on the collaborative.
Right.
Many institutions we are working on those projects, and many projects have done wonders. I tell you, many things have come out with these projects. So we are very much there to support the industry as a faculty, as a project.
Okay, good. Thanks, Ravi. Just to share one of my own experiences. I mean, the earliest example of an industry institution collaboration in Chennai way back in 1980. I started in 79 with SPIC. In 80, we collaborated with BITS Pilani, and it was called SPIC BITS collaborative program offsite. And we offered a master's degree for engineers who were all employees, and some of them had the aspiration to take up a post-graduation. So we offered them an MTech from BITS Pilani. And there were others who were engineers but aspiring to take up an MBA but never got a chance to learn or study MBA in their life. And through this SPIC BITS collaborative program, we offered them an MS in Management Sciences, MS it was called. And we also gave a program on Bachelor in Engineering Technology to the diploma and ITI trained technicians of that company. And that was a lifetime achievement for them, because then they would never have dreamt that they would do a BTech or a BE in engineering, that too from a BITS Pilani like a institution. And if I remember the numbers right, there were about 300 odd diploma holders who became engineers from BITS Pilani, and they had a BS or a bachelor's degree in science in technology and engineering and so on. So, and then of course Ashok Leyland copied that model, and it became Ashok Leyland BITS Pilani collaborative programs and so on. Today, a lot of institutions and universities are consciously reaching out. I mean, it's both ways. Industry reaching out into institutions, and institutions actually outreaching into industry to set up laboratories, to set up government funded research projects which will be beneficial both to the industry and to the institution. And government has got a separate fund, as was also mentioned earlier in the session today, that there is a lot of funds available in the Ministry of HRD and other such departments, science and technology and so on, where industries, institutions can actually set up laboratories and do industry-oriented research. In fact, IIT has got a program called user-oriented programs. These are called UOPs. And under this UOP, there can be post-graduation and graduation programs where students can take up only industry-oriented research projects, and only then they can actually qualify for that bachelor's or master's degree and so on. So it's actually IITs are a lot more clued on to industry institution collaboration many years ago, and we heard of several path-breaking industry projects which have actually been discovered and or rather solved by IITs through collaborative programs and so on. So that is one other, yeah, you wanted to say something, Ravi?
Just I wanted to say, Mr. Sharma, for example, we are doing lots of projects with BITS Pilani, IIT Madras.
I knew that.
But one thing, with humble request with the institution, Tier 2, Tier 3 institution, that many times we don't get the response even from the institution. Like earlier panel was saying that many students used to come to the industry for internal summer training projects and all that.
Yeah.
And faculty had never been bothered about what the project they are going to take.
Right.
So many times we feel a very little interaction or offer from the institution to the industry. I'm not saying this is the only responsibility of the institution, it is industry also. But sometimes we feel that the guys are coming to the industry just for the sake of certificate that they have done the project
That
for
is very-
1.5 months.
Yeah.
So unless the faculty
True. It has
talk to
be-
the industry, because at the end of the day, we need the people, we need the skill, we need the talents, and they have to come from the campuses. So who approaches, they get the opportunity, who doesn't, they miss the bus.
Absolutely. I think I'll just, before I pass it on to Dr. Thiru, I think it's very well put in the sense that, I mean, we can't insist on students taking up projects just for the sake of fulfilling some curriculum requirements. I think the pull factor has to come from industry. Industry has to have a live issue which has to be solved, and if the student can then apply himself or herself on that problem and solve it, who knows that actually that student will actually stand an opportunity to get placed permanently into this organization, because then you have solved a live problem through your internship or summer placement, and the industry would only be too happy to employ you because you've got a very analytical mind and you have solved that problem for the industry. So I think the projects or the internship assignments have to be largely driven by industry need and not the academic pull or the academic push rather, sorry. So Dr. Thiru, any points of
probably
discussion on that?
you're talking about the SPIC pitch planning.
Yeah.
Even I applied.
Yeah.
I didn't get a seat in that, but after that only I went to Canterbury.
Wonderful, yeah.
Thanks a lot, but that's a good service. There are, one thing I want to say that from industry, people always go back to their college. For example, I came out, my first graduation is from Presidential College, but even till date for the last 4 years, I've been involved in training the teachers concept who are all hired by the government, even from the past and the present.
Absolutely.
Even I'm one of the member who's been training the teachers and the HODs for the latest technologies and everything. So this is happening from the industry side, it is happening.
Yeah.
But the only thing is why it is not highly visible is, again and again I want to say industry is pure of commercial activities, and so that they give their time specifically, and then if it is for a day or two, yes, they contribute, and then they go there, they do it.
Right.
But again I want to say that institutions should come forward and they need to
Right.
prepare their students while talking. It is not just only about the fundamentals. Today something called value-based educations and ethics and everything has been taught in the institution. There are graduation courses for that.
Right.
But it has to be taught in the institution, and also the people, the teachers, the lecturers, everyone, they should talk about them, that what they want to become and where they can go. It's not just about taking a job and gaining money. Today, boss, you are very much aware, lot of IT guys, now they resign the job, they go back to their village and they started selling all vegetables and everything from house.
Organic farming.
Organic farming and everything, all the e-commerce, how it started. According to me, in my opinion, e-commerce was highly successful in India only because of the students. Only because of the students. Not only, in all my TV interviews, I used to say that people, even after they didn't get a job, encourage them to go at an internet center. It's only 10 rupees per hour. Even if they don't have a system, let them go there. Per day 10 rupees, 1 hour they can spend. 30 days if they spend, they can have a website, neighborhood online. They can sell, they can buy, they can do, they can create directories, then they can sell it to any organization. Today, if anybody comes for an interview, if you ask them that what about you and what you are doing and just tell me about yourself, immediately they will start, my father is this, my mother is this, my brother got married, my sister-in-law is this, everything. But they will not talk about themselves. What they are,
True.
what they want to become, as Tony was saying, what they want to become, and what they have done, what is their project. The project will talk about something about the informatic and everything which is on the high level. Or otherwise, it will be the old ideal period, meaning which is 10 years old. Somebody has done big data, so everyone will do a project on big data. Man, that is not important. You should do, the students must do a very, very small project. Take your tiny particle and make it exaggerated.
Correct.
And do a project which
Go
can
deep
be
into-
useful to the society. Or do a small project which can be useful to their own college for a library management system, or for attendance management system, or for a SMS sending within the college, or collaboration with or bonding with the other students. This can come out only from the Karta, that is only from the Guru. Guru is the first parent. Physical parents forget that Mada, Pida and all, the Guru. Guru is the one who can teach, Guru is the one who can put them in the right track. It's not about just getting a job, getting a stipend for 10,000, 15,000 and all. This responsibility have to come from the institution. Industry must stand with that. I think industry is coming forward today and we are standing because we need people. Today the problem is unemployable people, not about employment. Employment we have huge, but we have people unemployable. It is not matching, 1 equal to 1, it's not matching. That's the problem today.
Okay, Guru, thanks. Now we'll pass on to, I wanted to pass on to Dr. Lalita. I mean, before you say what you would like to say, a little about faculty services from industry. How are you utilizing them? And what kind of, what better things can be done in the area of faculty improvement in the institutions, where the industry can play a role? I think that was a very pointed question from one of them.
Asked.
So let's try and answer that from you.
Okay. We, like every institution, we have them on board of studies, but not just as figureheads. We really value their opinion, and we've been revising. We are an autonomous college, and we've been revising the curriculum. Like, for example, whatever is the trend in the industry we have. Even 10 years before, we introduced this software testing, and all our students were placed. Even, the computer science students, they were able to compete with computer science engineers and get better jobs. So that way, because we had introduced that subject when it was the need of the hour, not after others started coming in. We had the first mover advantage on that surface. And we have all our electives for the MBA program handled only by guest faculty. That is, people who are working in the industry, who have had years of experience in the industry, not because our core faculty strength is insufficient or they cannot teach. When it comes from the person who stood on the shop floor or who's worked there, that experience really makes a difference. In fact, our marketing elective students, they have undertaken, they've been part of this Big Bazaar sale. They stand there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening. They see how the things take place in a sale. So it is only when you dirty your hands, you know how it is. Any CEO, if you've seen, would have done that and then only come up to this level. Absolutely. So it is not that you straight away finish your MBA degree, go to your convocation and sit in an AC room and have other people to do your work for you. That is not the way we bring up our students. We give them the hands-on experience in the real sense of the term.
Absolutely.
So we do have people, and we have industry experts coming into our college as part of colloquia. We have Mr. Sharma has not yet come, but Mr. Suresh, who's sitting there, has come umpteen number of times to our college as guest faculty to talk, to share his experiences. We don't make it topic specific at all. Whatever you people have learned while you were doing your job is the curriculum for our students. Because we can't find that in any textbook, and they cannot read it on the internet either. So that is the sort of experience we want to give to the students, and that is the reality check with which they need to go out in the world. Absolutely. So that, and what I wanted to say earlier was the consultancy. That is one other area where industry and institute can collaborate. Right. In fact, we've done a project for ITC, their matchmaking factory. How the matches are actually done. That was an exercise. When they see it on the screen, our media students had done that. So when that sort of a collaboration can come about, and we also did one for how the vote for a person is very important. We did it for the asked as an initiative when Mr. Naresh Gupta was Chief Election Commissioner. He had insisted that everybody should have this and how they should really go and vote. Have your ID card done, and so we did that as a social responsibility initiative. So when we do projects, it is not just for the marks or the students going out of college for a 6-week period or an 8-week period. That is not the idea. They go there, they work on, and we have a logbook which states, this is because it really hurt when it was said that the industry person should sign. It's not all institutes which operate that way. If you want the right value systems to go into your students, it does not have to be given as part of a subject. It has to be inbuilt in the student, and it has to go percolate right from the head of the institution to the bottommost employee of the institution also. So when we insist on a logbook and see that it is done, maybe 10% of the students can still get away with anything. But that is not the way we want them to go out. We also have a check later on. We have a presentation made. We call experts from the industry to come and evaluate the projects, and then only marks are given to the students. Wonderful. So I think the change must come from within. We cannot always be blaming the system or the industry blaming institutes or institutes blaming industry. That is not going to work. If anyone wants to see any change, it has to be everywhere and it has to happen from within the person. You change yourself, you change the way you see other things. I'm sure the change is going to be the right one. And when everyone is looking for India to become a superpower in 2020, I think each one of us has to say, okay, I will not do this now. I will do it the way it has to be done. Each one of us start doing like that. I'm sure we're going to have the India of our dreams.
Fantastic. I wish I could conclude with this, but yeah, I wish I could actually conclude with this. Just to say, I mean, a few things like what Dr. Lalita had said. I think that's the reason why MOP, I mean, we don't want to praise her on our face, but I think MOP, because it's a brand by itself, it's an institution where it's a pleasure to take the students if you can employ them. I think that's why MOP is what MOP is, and because of the quality with which they do these things. So just to kind of wrap, we want to say something? Yeah, I thought you were wanting to say
Today
something.
the government is spending so much through NSDC, and there are various, the number one, tier one institutions and tier two institutions, the educational side. They go there, they approach, they take money, they train the people and everything. But rather than even these own colleges, without even bothering about the government money, they can come further down to the down south. Completely to the rural side. They can go and they can teach a lot. Look at the not only ITIs, not only the polytechnics, even the arts and science college. Today we are into the translation services. We emerged, we need a lot of translators. Translation, editing, proofreading. The person who can read books only can do the proofreading. And that reading habit itself lost. That we have to bring it back. That only the institution can do that. Today the language proficiency is the one which is going to have a very, very big, probably 5% of the opportunity in the whole employment across the globe, we are going to have it. So I think the language services, the complete learning all the language across globe, that is also to be cultivated. And that we have to take it to the people. We have to create an interest for that. That's what I just thought of that.
Absolutely, very nice. Just to wrap up this subject, and of course, to add one more final dimension to this subject is that, you know, many of us may be not aware, some of us are aware, I hope. There is this concept of community colleges, which is fast catching pace in India. Of course, the government is also trying to have as a goal that they must start about 600 odd community colleges across the country. These community colleges are of the community, for the community, and by the community. And they actually pick up children who are from very low strata of the society, who are from broken homes and who require rehabilitation and help and things like that. And so these community colleges actually offer direct industry relevant vocational trades which are all employable directly from day one. Like, for example, she was mentioning about nutrition and things like that. So nutrition and dietetics, nursing, tailoring, household electrical wiring, air condition mechanic, lift mechanics, carpenters, plumbers, and what have you. And all these are directly adding to the skill pool of the country. And today evening, at the end of the day, we are going to honor and grant the Lifetime Achievement Award to one gentleman who has given up all the luxuries of a job and even family life for that matter. I would dare say, and he has started the Swami Vivekananda Rural Community College in Pondicherry, and we are going to honor him with a Lifetime Achievement Award. These are all silent heroes, unsung heroes of our society, and while, you know, MOPs and all the other institutions are available, nobody has really heard or spoken much about community colleges. So I think, as Dr. Lalita was rightly saying, let's be positive. These community colleges and this NSDC and all of that, there are, let's say, bureaucracy, and there is a red tape here and there, and there is also this gap between thinking and doing. But I think, having said that, industry-institution collaboration is about 3 eyes, you know, including 3 eyes perhaps. You require the third eye also to open up for things to happen. It's about industry, institution, and the individual, who also has to be the vehicle of change. And so all of us are in this bandwagon. All of us need to make our own small steps and efforts to make these changes possible. And as I really salute Dr. Lalita for saying that, it has to finally start with the individual. And let me be a professional in what I do and do things differently and more effectively and perhaps more efficiently for things to improve in my own circle of influence. And so therefore in our institution, in our colleges, in our organizations, let us be the vehicle of change. Let us be the change that we want to see happen. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I wish to thank Dr. Lalita Balakrishnan, Dr. Thiru, my friend Ravi Mishra, and of course Tony from Sona Kyo Steering for making this group discussion a little more lively. Perhaps more because we are just before lunch and there is lunch now waiting for us. So I think if I may declare lunch, we'll have the question and answer during lunchtime. I'm sure there are a lot of questions which all of us can answer to each other, and we will take that as a starting point to have lunch together. Let's network, let's mingle together and have a wonderful lunch together. See you there. Thank you.
Kindly be seated for 2 minutes. I request Mr. Sai Krishnan, Placement Officer of Gudlevelu Engineering College, to felicitate Dr. Lalita Balakrishnan. Mr. Sai Krishnan, Placement Officer, Gudlevelu College. Okay, I request Mr. Satyanarayan, Secretary of Swarna Andhra Engineering College, to felicitate Dr. L. Lalita Balakrishnan. Can I have Mr. Sarvanan, Placement Officer of Vivekananda? Okay, Mr. G.D. Sharma sir, kindly felicitate. Okay, I request Mr. G.D. Sharma sir to felicitate Mr. Ravi Mishra, Mr. Thirugnanam. Mr. GDS sir, please honor Mr. Ravi Mishra sir. Dr. Thirugnanam. Yeah. Yes. Do we have Sri Lakshmi Ammal Engineering College, Mr. Jayachandran, Placement Officer, to come onto the stage?